because we can't do it alone. Nothing has ever been built alone. And I know that that's how you're going to live today. Is that good enough? Are you going to call me Lisa again?
I can give you another name.
I'll find you.
Probably not my first. Oh. Please take a seat. So friends, welcome again. I like to start with thanking our partners for the ALG, the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, represented here by Ben, and Alehan. Ben, please wait for the people and a round of applause for them. We also recognize our partners, the Sigo Family Foundation. Thank you very much for being invested and for always supporting the Leo Africa Institute. So at this point, I'd like to introduce you to our program today, and I'll start with the theme, Building Together for Impact. So I invite you today not to attend this as an event, but as a reflection, to reflect on every theme that we have here, to reflect on everything that we have written here. And my first point of reflection is within Owl's note that welcomes us here. Owl writes about the last 5 years that we've had the ALG. But what specifically stood out for me was the theme for the 2020, the first annual Leaders Gathering, which was talking about leadership at crossroads. But what does leadership at crossroads mean, and how have we gotten out of that kind of crossroads situation 5 years later? So I think this was informed by what was going on in 2020, COVID, lockdown, being, locked in our houses. And then we were looking for the space of leadership within this kind of squeezed space that we were compelled to, and rather we did not choose. Since then, I think the Institute has been deliberate at putting together ideas, talents, and resources. And 5 years later, we gather here today with each one of you in this room, with the ideas that you carry, with the talents that are bound with each one of us, and with the resources we all bring together to say that we are not short of any of these. What the Leo Africa Institute has put together over the last 5 years is an abundance of these three. But today, we have to critically deal with connecting all these to the discipline of excellence. And that's why our sub-theme for today says inspiring excellence through transformative leadership. So we need to knit these things together in order to inspire a discipline of excellence. To illustrate this, let me just use two scenarios. One is the common saying of, when you give man a fish, they will have a meal for a day. And when you teach them how to fish, they'll have a meal going on. But this, for me, remains incomplete. If you teach everyone to fish, what if they end up at the same shore? Won't they drain the lake? What happens when all of them are doing the same thing, fishing? But what if they come together and build a port? What if they build bigger boats? What if they improve the kind of nets or hooks or ways of catching fish? What if they create sustainable value chains for fish or sustainable markets for the fish? Or will they just consume the knowledge about fishing and go home because they acquired just that? And this is what we need to reflect upon. How do we become stewards of this fishing ecosystem? What role can each individual who learns something about fishing play? Because this is not just about fish, it's about survival. So we need to move from the impulsive hustle, the lonely grind, being in your corner and doing your best, and being the best at what you do while not looking at what others are doing. Each one of us can catch fish, but how do we synchronize and build strategically so that we don't drain the lake, but we use it more sustainably? But the second illustration I like to make is about a tree. Like in an old African homestead, there is that tree that gives you fruits, that gives you shade, that gives you shelter. That tree cannot live so long. It cannot live forever. And its strength is not in its big trunk. It's not in its deep roots, but those fruits that fall from that tree every other time. So those are not just fruits, they are seeds. And those seeds do not just form the next tree, they form the next forest. So think about how each one of us is part of that seed scatter, and how we then transform that scatter into the next forest. So I invite you, friends, today to constitute ourselves to the new council, to the council of a new forest. So think about it as a new forest. How do we come together? How do we grow together to form the new forest? We need to move away from being brilliant graduates of Yelp or Huduma or the great fellowships, but to be the visionary trustees of the Leo Africa Institute. From what we've received from the Institute, we need to form a legacy of our own. And this, ladies and gentlemen, forms the foundation of our gathering today. So I'd like to invite the tree from which all these seeds have fallen to come and illustrate to us, to come and speak to us about how we can gather all these seeds and work with every other individual and build the next big forest. Welcome with me, Mr. Awel Uwihanganye, to give his remarks, but also invite the keynote speaker and take up the round table chat. Thank you very much, and you're very welcome, Awel.
Good morning. So Edgar is one of the great examples of the Africa champions of the sort of emerging and current leaders that we're growing and developing at the Leo Africa Institute. So thank you so much, Edgar. So I should start by acknowledging our keynote speaker, Mr. Charles Mudiwa. Mr. Charles Mudiwa is the managing director at DFCU Bank. Him and I think our paths have interacted quite a number of times in the last couple of months, and thanks to Helena. Helena, I appreciate all the facilitation you've done. And I've grown to know Mr. Mudiwa as a great African and a fantastic thought leader, and I think we're going to benefit a lot from his insights in the keynotes. So you should get yourself to learn. So you're very much welcome, Mr. Mudiwa, to your first annual leaders gathering at the Leo Africa Institute. We just concluded an Africa Champions Breakfast, which outlined the vision we're setting for expanding our network from the current hundreds to the 10,000 we want to build over the next 10 years. And we had some commitments in the room of Africa Champions, and we would like to think that Mr. Mudiwa, our keynote speaker, and the others on the floor today will be some of our first champions. So allow me to read prepared text, because when I start speaking free, I go on forever. So I like to to read from here. So good morning, everyone, again. It's my profound honor to welcome you to this year's annual leaders gathering that represents more than just a single day of conversation. This year's event is a testament of the vision we held from the beginning, that Africa's transformation will be led by Africans committed to excellence, anchored in purpose, connected across borders and across sectors. When we founded the Leo Africa Institute, we believed in the power of ideas, places where emerging and established leaders could think deeply, challenge assumptions, and forge partnerships that would shape our continent's future. We believe that transformation does not happen in isolation, but in community. That excellence isn't just accidental, but cultivated. And that leadership is not a title, but a commitment to service. And it's on this point I'd like to, again, acknowledge all the different people whom we've built this with. You had those who are in Africa Champions session. You had Magnus talk about my journey and his